Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading Empire of the Vampire. So this isn't exactly horror, but it is about vampires, so I'm including it in October. And honestly, I have been wanting to read this book for the longest time just because of how beautiful it is, because I didn't know anything about the story, not even like the basic synopsis that's on the back. I literally just wanted it for the aesthetics. And this is book one in the Empire of the Vampire series trilogy. Honestly, I don't know how many books are gonna be in there, but it's the first book. And there are spoilers for what happens in this book, in this reading vlog. So having said that, let's just get into the video. Okay, so I have read part 1 and 2 of Empire of the Vampire, which puts me at page 176. And basically, in this book, we are following Gabriel, who is sort of a vampire hunter, and he's from he belongs to a group of people who are half human, half vampire, and they are all vampire hunters. And this whole story, like the whole book, is him, Gabriel, telling his life story to a vampire called Jean-Francois, who is writing down Gabriel's story and also drawing it. And the drawings are gorgeous. But basically, Gabriel starts the story when he was much younger, and the sun was covered by shadows, and they call it Day's Death. And one of his sisters and a friend disappeared, and when they came back, they were vampires. And then Gabriel himself started craving blood. And so people from like those group of hunters who are the Silver Order of Saint-Michon, they find Gabriel, and I think it was his mom who called them, and they take him with them because they are all like him, half human, half vampires. And basically, they teach him about vampires and how to fight them and what they do to not crave blood, because they basically they smoke powdered vampire blood. And while Gabriel is there with them at Saint-Michon, he learns that there are 4 vampire bloodlines, and they all have their special abilities different from each other, and they pass it down to those people who are half human, half vampires, but obviously not as strong, but they do get a little of the ability of the bloodline they belong to. And there is a test to see to which bloodline one of them would belong. And they do that test on Gabriel, but he doesn't seem to belong to any bloodline. They call him frail blood, I think, which means that he was created by a vampire that was too young to be able to pass down his abilities. So Gabriel doesn't really belong to any bloodline. And I don't buy that because he's the main character and main characters are always special, so he must have an ability. And that was all in part 1. And then in part 2, we jump forward in time to just 3 years before the moment when he's talking to Jean-Francois. And basically, Gabriel is no longer with the Silver Order of Saint-Michon. He is on his own, and he runs into someone that he knows from Saint-Michon, who is Chloe, who is a nun there. And she is with a group of people, and she tells Gabriel that they found the Grail, which is, I guess, prophesized to be able to undo Day's death, to return things back to normal. And the Grail is basically where the blood of their god was caught. And then they are found by some vampires, and one of them is called Danton, and he is a prince of Forever, which means he's the son of the king of Forever, who is like a really epic, iconic vampire, I guess. And he wants one of the people from that group that Gabriel and Chloe are with, and it's a boy called Dior. And that's because we learn later that he is the one who knows where the Grail is. But they manage to escape from Danton, and then Jean-Francois tells Gabriel that he wants to know more about what happened at Saint-Michon, so I guess that's what we're gonna do in part 3, but so far that is where I'm at. And it's always, like, I'm very, like, overwhelmed. It's always overwhelming to start a new fantasy world because I'm still trying to figure out who everyone is, what everything is, like what the whole world is about. So I am still a little overwhelmed, and I wanted to learn more about the vampires, but I don't think we will. We're gonna follow Gabriel the whole time, and I started reading this book. I didn't know we were gonna follow a vampire hunter, to be honest, because I didn't really read the synopsis. I started reading it because it has vampire in the title and it's beautiful. And I love vampires, and I'm finding it kind of hard to root for the good guys, which must say something about me. And also probably the fact that I don't really, I haven't connected to the main character, that doesn't really help me root for him. But so far, I have a lot of questions. I am intrigued. I am invested to find those answers. And I'm not obsessed with the book. I'm definitely not obsessed with the main character. I just don't care about him, and the whole story is about him, so that might be a problem if I don't start liking him soon. But yeah, I'm interested in the story, but I don't care about the main character. And yeah, I don't really have much more to say right now. I'm just, overwhelmed trying to understand what's going on, but hopefully I will have some more thoughts when I do my next update, which will be when I read parts 3 and 4. Okay, so I have read parts 3 and 4, and I am on page 406. And in part 3, we are back at Saint-Michon, half a year, I think, after Gabriel was sworn as an initiate of the Silver Order. And they go out on a mission to a town where there is something bad, wrong going on, and they find vampires, obviously. And Gabriel burns one of them, and he doesn't really know how. And the others don't know either, or so they say, because then when they get back, Gabriel overhears some of them talking about sanguimancy, I think that's the word, and it's a power that belongs to a bloodline that was extinct centuries ago. and that if Gabriel does belong to that fifth bloodline, he might be very dangerous and they might have to kill him. And so Gabriel is worried and he goes to the library to try to find out about that fifth bloodline. And in there he finds one of the nuns called Astrid, and she tells Gabriel that she will help him research all of that, especially because she can read some languages that he can't, and she will help him if he teaches Chloe how to fight. And he agrees with that. And I really like Astrid, actually. We haven't really gotten that much from her, but what we did get, she's pretty iconic. And I do like her, but I don't care at all about her, the romance that is starting between her and Gabriel. But that might just be because I still don't like Gabriel. And then Gabriel decides that it's time to jump forward in time again. And Jean-François doesn't appreciate that, and honestly, neither do I, because I don't need a dual timeline to get lost. But anyway, we do move forward, and this is in part 4, back to when he is with Chloe and that other group of people. And Chloe is telling them how she learned about the Grail and the prophecy, I guess, in the library, and how she contacted the others from the group and how they all came together and all that. And then they are attacked again, and one of the people from the group actually dies, but Dior's blood brings him back to life, which was honestly pretty cool, and I think the most exciting thing that happened in this book so far. And then, to make it better, we learned that the Grail isn't actually a cup. The Grail is like a descendant of their god, which is why it has the god's blood. And the Grail is actually Dior. And then as they keep moving, they find another vampire who has a mask covering her whole face. And she says you can call us Liathy, but there's only one of her. So who is us? And also she also wants Dior. And they manage to get away from her, but then Danton finds them again. And there is a fight scene, which was really cool, actually. It was a really great fight scene, but everyone except for Gabriel and Dior dies. And there was a character in that group who I didn't really mention because, she was great, she was iconic, but she wasn't really that relevant, I guess. And also I don't know how to say her name. I think in the audiobook they say Saoirse, but I might be completely wrong, but this is how it's written. And I love her, and she died. And then the last thing that happens as Gabriel and Dior are escaping is we learn that Dior is actually a girl, and that is how part 4 ends. And yeah, so in this, I feel like both in parts, even part 2 a little, and then now, we got a lot of missions, them going on missions, that I don't really care about because it takes up a lot of chapters that I don't care about reading just for one little thing. And again, maybe it's just because I don't like Gabriel. And I guess that he must have reasons to be an asshole, but without knowing those reasons, I can't empathize. And also he's giving me cheap knockoff Geralt from The Witcher vibes, because he's kind of that closed off, doesn't want to get attached to people, kind of person who is rude to the bard. And they don't call him a bard, but it's a bard, was part of the group of people who died. But yeah, he gives me Geralt vibes, but not done in a way in which I actually like him. And also, I don't think I mentioned it, but he has a sword called Ash Drinker, I want to say, and the sword telepathically talks to him, and it's really funny because the sword is kind of damaged, so it kind of lost its minds, so it's really funny, and it reminds me of Rand from The Wheel of Time when he talked to Lewis Theron in his head. And yes, this character just gives me vibes of better done main characters. Oops. And also towards the end of part 4, Gabriel actually started being nicer and not an asshole to everyone, but it was really like out of nowhere, so I didn't really feel any character development at all. I'm still interested in the plots. I'm definitely interested in Dior and like what she is and what she can do and like that whole thing, but I just don't like Gabriel. So I am kind of bored a lot of the time because we are following Gabriel. There are some, I feel like, unnecessary chapters when they go on missions, just, finding people who are being not even attacked, but like influenced by vampires, and then they talk to those people and they spend a lot of time there, and then they find the vampires, and it just feels like unnecessary to me. Or maybe, again, maybe that might just be because I don't really care about following Gabriel on his missions. And yeah, that is all that I have to say for now. Okay, so I have finished the Empire of the Vampire, and in part 5 we get back to younger Gabriel and they go on another mission that I did not care about once again, but at the end of that mission they realize that the vampire they are following, trying to capture, trying to kill, is one of the daughters of the Forever King. And the mission doesn't really go as planned because Gabriel doesn't do what he's told by his mentor. I don't think that's the word they use, but his mentor basically. So he is punished, meaning that he won't go out on the next mission they go to. And while they are back at Saint-Michon, one of the other guys there, who's called Aaron, he is kicked out of the Silver Order because they find out that he is in a relationship with one of the blacksmiths, and so they just kick them both out. And Gabriel is not happy about that because even though Aaron was an asshole to him in the beginning, then they kind of became friends, and Gabriel actually tried to make the others not be assholes and kick him out, but that didn't happen. And so what does Gabriel do next? He goes to meet Astrid, and they actually get together because until this point it was just like flirting, but now they are in a relationship, which is also forbidden. But no one finds out for a while, and then the others, like everyone else, go on a mission to go after that vampire, the daughter of the Forever King, I think. And Aaron was kicked out, so he's obviously he's not even there anymore. And Gabriel is punished, so he's not going on the mission. But then he and either Astrid or Chloe, or maybe it was just the three of them, they find a letter that basically makes them realize that the others are not going to the right place. So they go to the spot that they're supposed to go, and they meet up with Aaron and Baptiste, and they basically fight the vampires. And in that fight, Gabriel actually kills the daughter of the Forever King, which makes the Forever King very angry, and he vows to get revenge on Gabriel. And then he stays at Saint Michon for 5 more years, but then Astrid gets pregnant, and it's obviously impossible to hide that they're together, and they are also kicked out. And then we get back to the other timeline when he's with Dior. And basically they get captured, and then they manage to escape, and then they go to the place where Aaron and Baptiste live. And honestly, their reunion, the three of them, was actually way cuter than I expected, and I actually cared way more than I expected. And so they stay there, and we learn that Gabriel's wife, Astrid, and their daughter actually died because the Forever King did get his revenge. And then Danton finds Gabriel and the others, and there is another fight, and Dior actually uses her blood to kill Danton, which was pretty iconic. And then they are found by people from the Silver Order, and Chloe included, because apparently she is alive. Like, they found her and managed to save her life. So they take them back to Saint Michon, but then one of the guys, I think it was Gabriel's old mentor, but I might be wrong, might have been some other random dude. I honestly didn't really memorize any of the names from those people, so it might literally have been anyone. He tells Gabriel that they are going to kill Dior because that is the way to complete the prophecy or whatever, and Gabriel is not happy about that. So he is fighting that other man, and then he would have died if the vampire who says that we can call them Liathy didn't show up there and save his life. And then we learn that she is actually Gabriel's little sister. Not the one at the beginning of the book that had turned into a vampire. No, another one that we all thought that she had died in a fire or something when his mother died. But apparently she is a vampire now. And she also wants Dior alive. So Gabriel goes to where Dior is about to be sacrificed, and he saves her. And then he tells her that it's time for her to meet his sister. And then Jean-Francois tells Gabriel that that is enough story for one day, and the book ends. Yeah, so let's just go into my final thoughts. So let's start off with the characters, and let's start with Gabriel, because he's really the only one we actually got to really know, which is a problem in of itself. And like I said many times, I didn't like him. And I understand the idea of making a closed off, moody, brooding character who doesn't really want to get close to anyone, doesn't want to open up because of the stuff he has gone through. And then comes some random child that he ends up really liking and kind of adopting and opens up to, and it's adorable and whatever. Like, I understand the concept. It has worked for me before, but in this case, it just didn't really work. I just never really cared about Gabriel and his character development. I did, however, care about Dior. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I would have been devastated if she died. No, there wasn't really any character in this book that I actually cared about that much, but she was nice and she was pretty iconic, and she was also kind of precious, so I did like her. And speaking of kind of iconic, Astrid was really cool, but I feel like we didn't really get enough of her. Like, we only got sort of like the build up to her relationship with Gabriel, which I didn't care about, but maybe that's just because I am me. But we did get some lines of her that I was like, okay, she's cool, I really like her. But then we didn't really get any more of her, and then now she's dead, so yeah. Also, in terms of Aaron, like Baptiste, we didn't really get much of him. If I'm remembering correctly, we only really got to know him when like Gabriel found out that he was in a relationship with Aaron, and then like they were kicked out, and then it was only like in the last part of the book. So we didn't really get much of him, so I don't really, know him. And Aaron, he was a dick in the beginning, and then he was nicer, and I did care like about when they reunited with Gabriel. Like, that was adorable. That was actually way cuter than I expected. But overall, again, I don't really care if anything happens to them. And so, yeah, there wasn't really any character that I connected to. And I think that is like one of the reasons why I didn't really enjoy this book as much as I wanted to, because I mean, the plot was interesting and I was invested in learning about Dior and what she can do, even though we didn't really learn much. But I was definitely interested. But I don't know, I wanted more. Like, I definitely wanted more about the vampires. We didn't really get to learn that much about them. I wanted to learn more about Dior as well. I guess we're gonna learn in the next book or books. I don't know how many are gonna be in the series, but I don't know. I feel like I just wanted more. But like, on a positive note, there were some epic fight scenes which I really enjoyed, because I always love a good fight scene, and there were a few in this book, and like, it's very aesthetically pleasing. The drawings inside are gorgeous, and now that I'm trying to find one, I'm not gonna find one, right? I feel like this is one I showed in my reading vlog, or at least it's similar. My weekly reading vlog, I mean. There's another one back here. Anyway, you get the point. It's gorgeous, and I do judge books by their cover, and in this case, it's not just the cover. But overall, I liked the story, even though like I wanted more from it, but it was fine. It was enjoyable. I didn't care about the characters. Yeah, like, the book overall, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I didn't really have any like strong opinions about it. It was fine, and I'm giving it 3 stars. So yeah, that is everything for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!